Welcome to the Redevelopment Commission meeting for the City of Bloomington, July 7th, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order. Would you do a roll call, please?
Lori McRobbie present.
Sue Scavallari here.
Randy Cassidy present.
John West here.
Deborah Meyerson present. And staff present, please.
Christina Finley, Hand Department.
Tammy Caswell, Hand Department.
Jane Cooper-Smith, Economic and Sustainable Development.
Jessica McClellan, City Controller. Kendall Kanoki, Engineering.
Roy Aiton, Engineering Department.
Julius Mitchell, Office of the Mayor.
Anna Dragovich, TSD.
Dana Kerr, Legal.
Thank you. Anybody online who is part of the staff present? We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which are the minutes. We've got a batch of minutes. I'm going to propose approval of all, but certainly if you'd like to call one out for comments or questions, you should do that. So the minutes that are up for approval are the minutes for June 2nd, 2025, June 16th, 2025, as well as 2 executive session summaries for June 18th and June 30th, 2025. Any questions or comments from commissioners on any of these? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
There's one correction. I can't tell you exactly where it is, but instead of saying RDC, it says RDV.
It's not in there.
No.
No, it's further in the
Further in the
agenda.
email? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
I got it. I noted it too.
nice.
Okay.
Okay, well, we will revisit that at the apt time.
Perfect.
But for the current minutes, any other comments or questions from commissioners? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of all 4 sets of minutes.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is the examination of claim registers. We've got 2 June 20th, 2025 for $273,830.41 and July 3rd, 2025 for $171,460.50. Any questions or comments from commissioners on either of these claim registers?
One question just on a grant, and I'm assuming it's got under 4915 under account 53960, and that's on a grants. Just Van Horn. We were just wrapping the Parks trailer or a separate trailer?
Yep.
It's the Parks trailer?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Otherwise-
got it.
Yeah.
Question on the June 20th payment $72.55, which is the solar panels. Can you remind us of how that program works? What we're paying for here?
The solar panels, is that what
Yeah.
you're Jane?
In 2017, the city did a group buy of solar panels through the Guaranteed Energy Savings Contract. A portion of those panels were purchased by RDC, some were purchased by Parks, and some were purchased by CDU. Jessica can jump in and correct me if I missed something. And so this would be just the bond payment, right,
I am looking for the payment.
of the RDC's portion.
And those are some of the same panels that are just sitting in storage.
Likely.
Likely.
Well, yes.
Okay.
It should be a
Well,
yes or
no, it's not clear because we think that we had a bunch of progress in determining which panels were in storage. We wanted to know whether they were CDUs or the redevelopment commissions, and the way the contracts were issued, it wasn't solar panel by solar panel, but they were issued by guaranteed kilowatt savings. So it makes it very challenging to determine.
Who had the majority of
Right.
panels that created the most
Dana
kilowatt?
and Shania and I have been working on this, and I think we need to probably pick that ball up again.
Yeah, basically, it appears the CBU did not get an installation at the Bleacher Pool facility, and all the other installations did occur. So there's strong likelihood that those actually belong to the CBU. But everybody's been paying pro rata on the bonds as if everything was installed. So there might have to, once that determination is made, there may have to be adjustments on reallocating what actually was installed and who who's getting paid for those,
And-
and what to do with any proceeds that may come out of transferring the equipment that we do have.
And when's the bond paid off?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look it up. The bond is paid off in 2038.
Okay, so we'll have to keep tapping on that for a while still.
Well, we need to see that. Be nice for the panels to be used,
Right.
because we're paying for assets that are just sitting around.
Yeah, I'll see if we can get a more thorough update together for the next meeting, but I know it sounds crazy, but it's a complicated issue with a lot of different stakeholders involved. So we were working toward asset disposition for those panels, but I'll see what kind of update we can provide at our next meeting.
The main thing I'd like to see is some finality in regards to where we think we're going to be on this, since it's this 2017 issue. And I know you guys inherited it as an administration, so they're trying to get specific
Yeah.
finality of what we're looking at on a dollar-for-dollar basis, so we can calculate into the future on the financial commitments.
Okay, if that resolves that particular question, do you have others, Mr.
I
West?
got one other one. On the July 3rd claim, there's claim number 9300 to Cassidy Electric. This has got nothing to do with the claim, Randy.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm just suggesting that in the description, for most time we do, but in the description, we identify the property where the service is being performed. And generally we do, but there's a case where we didn't, so I just think it's good to know which RDC property we're paying an invoice for.
I can provide that information.
I have no idea.
It was in the Trades District before Freeze Fest.
Just good for our edification, so if you could add it to the description, that would be great.
And just maybe as a general practice then,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
yeah,
I was just showing that as an example.
right. Okay, well, thanks for catching that. Any other questions or comments from commissioners on these claim registers?
One real quick question, and it's just a question in regards to the account 53990 on the H&K maintenance and the RTC owned property. Is that inclusive of the Hopewell? Okay, because they need to clean the islands.
Gotcha.
Moving forward. So,
I was just going to mention that anytime there is anything on the table that was of pecuniary interest to any of the members, it would be, even if you've done a disclosure, it would still be good to at least abstain from even that little portion of it.
I'm good.
Just so that, you know, it's out there that everybody knows that, you know, just for transparency. So that's always a best practice.
Randy, did you say the islands?
yeah, just the islands. They did a great job on the grass and the
Okay.
project. As
And
far
that
as
was the Hopewell area?
Yeah, it's just the Hopewell area around the 714 building primarily.
Okay.
Yes, the expectation that RDC properties or any properties that are publicly owned should set the example in regards to our community as a whole.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for Anna Dragovich, but she did a site visit a week ago and is communicating with Han to get some of those outstanding areas taken care of.
Good deal. Thank you.
So I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet, but
Well,
it's in process.
It's summer.
If there are no further comments or questions, commissioners, I will request a motion for the examination of claims registers as presented.
Move approval of claims registers for June 20th and July 3rd, 2025.
Second.
The first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain based upon our legal counsel.
Okay, so for ayes and 1 abstention. And so the motion passes with a majority ayes. Thank you. Next on our agenda is our examination of payroll registers, June 13th, 2025 and June 27th. Any comments or questions from commissioners on these registers? Hearing none, I will request a motion to approve.
Move approval of payroll for June 13th and June 27th.
First and a second? Oh, excuse me. Okay, first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we've got our reports from officers and committees. Is there a director's report? I know that Ms. Killian Hansen is not available, but if there is an alternate.
No
Is that-
report today.
Thank you. A legal report?
I just want you all to know that I'm going to work on, we talked about what kinds of projects the RDC can participate in and that kind of thing. I am working on kind of a training schedule, a time that we can get together in the next month or two to discuss that, other roles and responsibilities of RDC members and conflicts of interest, those kind of things. It's good to have a refresher of all that every now and then. So sometime in the next month or two, we'll be covering that.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Is there a treasurer's report?
No treasurer's report today.
Okay, thank you.
we
Business
have-
development update?
Nothing today. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Moving through.
Okay, we will move on to our items of new business. First on our agenda is Resolution 25-86, approval of Addendum 1 to the professional service contract for the Beeline Trail and multi-use path. It looks like Mr. Eaton is here to talk to us about that.
Hello, this is Roy Ayton with the City Engineering Department. This is our Beeline Extension Project, which started a couple years ago. This is the extension of the Beeline Trail from Adams Street terminus there to Fountain, and then a multi-use path that goes up Fountain Crescent and connects to the network on 17th Street. During construction last year, it was discovered in the parcel that is adjacent to Adams Street that there used to be a salvage yard in that area. So Wiederman's Salvage Yard, I think it was called, back in the 60s or 70s. Most of it's been cleaned up all through most of our lifetimes, and but we discovered some different colored soils in the area, so we wanted to go ahead and get them tested. We hired out the company called Caramita to go in and do some initial testing, and we discovered that there were some very low levels of lead that's in just the top layer of the soil. So what we did was we worked with them to go ahead and go back and do some additional testing, but also we want to do some remediation in the area, just have that top layer of soil disposed of, where we'll have it through them and that service. We'll go ahead and we'll have it trucked up to Danville, Indiana, and disposed of in the waste management facility there. The resolution this evening covers the agreement with Caramita to go ahead and have that tested, and then also they will hire out the contractor to do the excavation and then get the area, the bad soils removed from the project. The total cost of the agreement at this time would be $37,115. And then I think we're still scheduled though to try to get that project wrapped up this year and get it open, that section. Most of the section of the multi-use path is already opened up, but we want to finish off the project here this summer, so we'd like to get this closed out.
Is this near the tracks at Adams Street?
Just north of the tracks, yeah.
Just north of
So
the
this,
tracks.
that parcel that we had purchased, we purchased half of the parcel, and that's where we've kind of pushed our right-of-way through, north of the tracks. So now that's public right-of-way, that section there. But the portion of the parcel we purchased was from air photos used as it looked like a salvage yard. I think that's what we're all calling it,
Okay.
for lack of a better word.
Some sort of area. But that way the trail will be able to continue and connect and not have to go over the tracks?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
We'll stay on that side of the tracks, continue all the way over to Fountain Drive, and then connect up to what we've already built up on Fountain Drive.
Okay. So with this, and I understand these are specialized contractors that,
You do have to have some special training in order to hire this out. So I think they're hiring out Hoosier contractors that have that certification to
Okay.
remove this. Yep.
so that way this will clean up the area that has to be done. And it's city property, so given the area that needs to be cleaned, the city won't have to come back and be responsible for any additional remediation
Nothing
in
that
the
we-
future.
Nothing that is indicated that we'll have to come back afterwards, yeah. And this is just the stuff that's on the surface. And the levels we picked up would be good for like commercial areas.
Mhm.
They're under closure limits. But for a trail facility where there's a direct line to exposure for
Right.
people, those levels are a bigger threshold. So we just want to get cleaned up so for a trail facility.
Sure, and we won't have to have continual monitoring and testing in regards to it.
No one's indicated anything. Once it's cleaned up and it's gone, we should be good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Question about, this is maybe more of a organization question in our materials. It looks like the exhibits precede the resolution, but are referred to in the body of the resolution as being attached. I suppose you can attach them ahead of time, but it's confusing.
I agree.
There's no Exhibit A or Exhibit B following it. There's Exhibit C, and then there's more
Yeah.
than,
We're way out of order.
way out of order, yeah. So it just made it very hard to follow exactly what the deal was. And there are additional exhibits that I don't believe are referenced in the resolution. There's an Exhibit D, I think.
And then to segue onto that, the resolution, maybe I just don't understand where we're going with it. I understood what Roy said, and I heard the number, but the resolution refers to 5340. So I don't know what that means.
Like,
Exhibit C sort of
Could.
kind of summarizes all of that, but again, that's.
$5,340. I don't know what that refers to.
that's a question for me?
I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
So the original agreement was in the amount of $5,340. That was just them to go in, and at that point, we didn't know what we had. We were basically, it's just dark soils, we need some testing done real quick. It was a small amount of an agreement with them to go in and do the testing. That was already approved by the board at an earlier version. Once we discovered what was determined, that's why this is for an addendum 1 to that agreement. The original agreement being $5,340. Then this addendum does an addition of $31,775 to that agreement. And then the final not to exceed amounts $37,150.
Okay, but to your point, Resolution 2586 looks like it's current, not an old resolution, and it's not signed by anybody, so
It's
Previous was Public Works, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2586 is this current resolution that's coming through. The original one for $5,000, both of them have been approved by the Board of Public Works. The first one for just the agreement, the initial agreement, 5,000, we did not bring to the RDC at that time. So this is the first time the RDC is seeing both the agreement and the addendum together. Yep.
And just clarify why this would have been only before Public Works before, and now it's coming to RDC as well.
When it was only at $5,000, we didn't think we could handle it under our own department. We can pay that. We still can pay that amount, $5,340, just out of our own funding from our own department. When things were discovered that they're more complicated than just going out and doing some tests, that's when we decided it'd be better to bring it to the board so that you're aware, and the money and the funding's a higher amount.
So just to clarify, if from a board standpoint, being trying to be fiscally responsible in regards to it, we could deduct the $5,300.
We're fine with that,
And
yeah.
you're okay with that, so we could amend it and we could pay 27,000 or
31.
32. Yeah.
$31,775.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
31,775.
appreciative of whatever funding we can get to cover the expenses.
And it won't negatively impact the future of Public Works.
Yeah, it won't impact this job.
Okay.
We'll keep the job moving for that. So the original funding went through. We understand that, yeah, we didn't take the original agreement through you, so you didn't have a fair shot on it.
Yeah.
so that's fine. But budget-wise, I mean, it still has an impact on our budget, but
Well, as long as we get the
it can
project
cover
done
it.
and hit the time frame, have environmental safety and no public input, and we're able to get things done.
But the resolution will need to be
Yeah.
revised,
Revised.
so it needs to be rewritten.
And I-
I have it up, I can
Certainly.
do that.
I figured you could.
The amount, and then I would say something that represents the original Board of Public Works resolution. I mean, if we're not paying that 5,000, maybe that's not as necessary, but it might be an opportunity to just clean up the exhibits so that they clearly follow the resolution and
I think in the
support the
packet,
resolution.
the original contract, the original agreement, which the board doesn't do resolutions, they just
They do
approve the
agreements,
original
yeah.
agreement.
Actually, it
And so
is-
those exhibits are probably attached to that original exhibit. Exhibit A for scope of work, B, project schedule. Those are just put into the packet, and C for your information. So, but it does.
Robbie was saying, weren't you noting that it's just in our packet, it's not in a comprehensible order?
Yeah, that's.
So it's,
That's right.
I think it's
That's-
fine, at least that's what I'm understanding, it's just
Yes,
like.
it's fine, it
Again,
just-
for me, I've got it bookmarked so it's in order, but now I'm seeing that the actual, page numbers are wacko, so.
Yeah, so,
So just to have the actual narrative of, the resolution that this body is going to consider so that the Exhibit A is clearly attached and not, again, in our packet, it's not in order, so.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. So is that
Since we're doing
something
some
Dana
like
can
that.
clear up?
Yes, and the agreement that I found as Exhibit B does say that it's agreement between Public Works and Caramita. But we can, if you approve the amount pending legal's review of the amendment, you could go ahead and move forward and not hold things up, and then we could get those details ironed out so that it can be signed.
Well, you just said that agreement was Exhibit B, but it's Exhibit A in the resolution.
But the amendment
The
is,
the original agreement is Exhibit A, and the addendum 1 to the agreement. So this was an agreement with Public Works, so what we can do, again, is redraft it, just changing it over to the Redevelopment Commission. And then we can you can authorize the president to sign it, and we can get it signed and moved over. The important thing is the amount that you're going to do, and again, saying that legal can make any necessary edits. The only thing that would substantially change would be
Not to
changing
exceed
the
number.
RDC from the Public Works.
Well, substantially is the not to exceed numbers, not 37, it's 31.
From an RDC.
Well, from RDC's.
From our
it's not,
standpoint,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's also
I'd
just under
kind of
their-
like to see it done correctly. That's just me.
there's, I think, enough moving parts here that even, if it was just the sum that we were changing, but now it's who's signing off on the amendment, right? Because it was Public Works and now it's the RDC that's providing the majority of the funding for this agreement. So it seems like it would be helpful to have everything cleaned up so it's just all done.
Yeah, and point of clarification, I just want to make sure, it's our portion based on what you're is $31,775.
Mhm.
Okay, just want to make sure that number's right. And then the next question is, Dana, since there's a potential, another meeting coming up here next first of the week, is that something that could be adjusted and brought at that meeting?
Yeah, you can. I don't know what
First of the
the,
week.
On Friday morning when it's the executive session.
yeah, no, we
Oh,
can't do that.
then you can't do resolutions then.
Just want to make sure.
And just to be aware that
Clarification.
our contractor's ready to go tomorrow. They're just holding off right now, just for this meeting. So if we push them out 2 weeks,
Oh, shit.
well, it's just 2 days.
Well,
2
we
weeks
still
of-
have the rest of our agenda ahead of us. If there is any opportunity to make the changes as needed and present it at the end of this meeting, then we could revisit at the end of this meeting.
Really, the important thing is the amount of money, the order of
And
the.
the signing authority, I think, because.
Yeah, she's gonna have to
Thank you,
sign it,
yes.
it ought to be written right.
as opposed to crossing out the Board of Public Works and writing in RDC.
We'll come back to it, and I'll read what the changes are, and then that way you can approve it based on those changes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will postpone this until we have the amendments that can be read fully at the end of our agenda. And we'll work through the timeliness of it to hopefully get it through just with those changes that has been discussed. So that is tabled for now, is that the right term?
Yes.
Okay. We are going next on our agenda to Resolution 25-87, which is approval of construction agreement with Kreider and Kreider for Hopewell West. Would like to speak to that?
Kendall Kanoki, Engineering Department. Pleasure to be here tonight. So this is the approval of the funding for the Hopewell West Jackson Street project, which is the first phase of construction for Hopewell West. The awarded bidder, their bid amount was $1,687,318.85. So this is, if you remember back in 2021, when all this started, we did a full subdivision of Hopewell West. That effort ended up taking a little bit more design money because we originally anticipated 30% construction plans, and we had to switch that to 60%. They're really closer to 90%. So we were very close. If you want to do another phase of Hopewell West, we can get those construction plans together pretty quickly. But we got the Hopewell West subdivided, and then this is the construction of the section of Jackson Street, which is west of the core building, the alley that's to the north, and then the reconstruction of Rogers. So the whole point of this phase is to support the core project, which is also ongoing. So this contractor will be working directly adjacent to and essentially with the core contractor. So that's why leading up to this construction contract, put into place a couple agreements. So in their right-of-way use permit and their use of RDC properties, the core contractor must make way for the city of Bloomington's contractor to do their work if there's a conflict. So they're going to coordinate as best they can, but we have in writing that they have to get out of our way if they need to, if there's any kind of issues out there. So construction will take place approximately August 1st to November 1st. We should have everything wrapped up by the end of the year. And this will include
Can
a full.
you say that one more time, just so I got the time frame?
Yep,
And
August
everybody-
1st to November 1st,
Of this year?
2025. Yep.
And you got that in writing?
Yeah, it's in the contract, so
Okay.
if they don't do it.
While he brought it up, could you show it to me in the contract?
Yeah. Is it in this contract?
It's not under term, so I don't know where it is. It could very well be in here, and because I just glanced through it, but I didn't see it.
And I do need to add that on this resolution, we are working, legal and engineering are working with getting with IDEM to make sure that this would not impact Part 58. So, because we don't want to do anything that would mess that up at all. So I added at the bottom of that one that city staff and legal will authorize the start date in writing after consultation with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, IDEM, and if confirmed, the project has been authorized by IDEM as part of the contamination plan for the Part 58 environmental review of Hopewell West. There shall be no ground disturbance before the start date. So you're authorizing it to move forward, but the actual start date, we're going to make sure that IDEM is good with this before we move forward. So, and it's important to make sure that nothing's going to happen until we get this.
Yeah. Do we feel comfortable with moving forward that IDEM will be able to meet
I
the time
think-
frame based upon what our contractual obligations?
I think they've already, Anna Hansen's already been reaching out to them. She seemed to indicate that they could get an answer pretty quick. We just want to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And so, and once it does, then legal and Anna get together and send a note on to break ground.
Yeah, because the base we're looking at, anything that IDEM or permitting slows us down on will then extend the time frame.
Yeah, if this would impact what area is known to be contaminated, that's an issue. We don't believe it does, but that area that's there, Rogers and Second Street, the extent of contamination has not been exactly defined yet. And so we want to make sure that they're good, that that's far enough away, that that's not going to be a problem. And we feel very confident that it is. But again, if we, if the RDC decides to approve something and it moves forward and it does negatively impact that, then that's going to bring on a lot of issues and possibly fines and fees and costs.
But with it being uphill and the contaminated areas downhill, the chances are fairly reasonable that we won't have any issues. Because Jackson Street's not going all the way to Second Street, is it?
No.
Okay, that answers that question. Cool.
2.02.
2.02.
It's written as a 90-day window.
Yeah.
It's not an exact expiration date, so
So if there is a delay.
if there's a delay at the start, the 90 days is.
90 days will just carry accordingly. We just want to get it before snow flies.
That works.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And
Any
There are
questions?
no other, yep, sorry.
I was just happy to answer any other questions
Okay.
from the commission.
If there's no other questions or comments from commissioners, I'll open it for public comment. Seeing none, either in the room or online, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 25-87.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25-87 as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is Resolution 25-88, approval of a permanent blanket stormwater easement at the Trades District Lot 2A. Who would like to speak to that?
I'm happy to. Or do you want it, Dana?
I'm working on the
Okay.
subject, but I can do
No,
that.
no, you're good.
Yeah.
This, as the title suggests, is a approval of a permanent stormwater easement in the Trades District. This is because there is stormwater detention below ground, and so CBU will need to be able to access that in order to maintain it and eventually replace it. This mentions a couple of other resolutions related to covenants and stormwater in the Trades District. It also mentions the restrictive covenant that eliminates or prohibits the food service establishment from entering the space, and that is because there is no grease interceptor at the location. So I think it's pretty straightforward. Happy to answer any questions, and that kind of just addresses the purpose.
I got two. This is where Randy was referencing RDV. There's a
Right, I
typo
did
in the
see that.
whereas 5.
Yeah.
And also, does anybody have a map of where this easement is?
I was just working on that. It's lot 2A as it's listed on the plat, not lot 2 as is listed in the marketing materials. So there's renovating the HR suites.
Oh.
They may be doing the noisy part after hours when it won't disturb anyone. So the stormwater detention is located kind of adjacent to the Stefan Rice OT 987 piece, just north of 10th Street and east of Madison, under a sort of bricked section. So I was just,
Randy, you know where that is? You got it?
Yeah, basically it's in the area where where the plaza is, the grass area, where that just to the west of where the new sculpture is.
Okay.
It's where the storm interceptor is,
Uh-huh.
or the swirl.
sorry,
Is that-
and I stand corrected. So lot 2, the access is to lot 2, which is, it was, so 2 contains the forge. There's 2A and 2B. And so 2A would be to the forge building. to the forge lot.
Would it be possible to request that a map be included as an exhibit with this resolution? Just because, you know, it's great that we're all here hearing you describe it now, but it seems like for
It
the
needs to
permanent
be in
public
the
record
record.
that having something more precise would be
Yes.
warranted.
And I think actually, not to add future work, but if we want to add that for you to sign it, I don't think this is time sensitive,
Okay,
so.
Do you want to bring it back next time?
Yeah, we're happy to do that.
okay, that
Yeah.
sounds
That's something that always should be looked at when
Yeah.
you're bringing resolutions. We should, you know, if there's mapping required, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
We saw the legal description, but that's
Yeah,
not.
Right.
and
That's
I
not
got,
better.
I have the plat, but it needs to be
Yeah.
in the document, so.
Yeah, and again, just for public record, so
Public record,
that,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
legal description is good, but nobody, you know, it takes a little more legwork to figure out what that means.
A whole lot more legwork.
Oh, yeah, so the map attachment would be helpful as a standard.
And also you can, fix.
Make the correction.
Fix
Okay.
the, and it is lot 2A, not lot 2. Lot 2 is
Lot 2 is an old name for
what's now
the forge and the parcel south of the forge.
Okay.
And so we just need to verify that 2A is that forge lot.
and it doesn't affect both
Right.
2A and 2B, it's just
2A. So we'll bring that back.
Yeah, that's what it says in the resolution. Just-
And Jane, what was the purpose of Exhibit A? Because it refers to the green roof. Why was that an exhibit to?
Well, I guess I'm a little confused. So I
Because the green roof is part of the stormwater infrastructure
Management, okay.
that the blanket easement would need to cover.
Okay, I apologize. So what I think CBU is, are they maintaining the green roof of the forge?
In order to get through the permit process, they need a blanket stormwater easement, and part of that is covering the stormwater facilities, and part of that's the facilities that are on the roof, which means that's why that particular parcel is added a blanket easement so that they can inspect it. That's why they have the 24-hour notice unless it's an emergency.
Okay, I misunderstood. Let us just bring this back and I'll give a succinct and accurate presentation at that time.
Okay, because the stormwater is paid for the green roof in order to use it as an educational process, if I remember correctly from a previous resolution when we approved the forge.
Right,
Okay, so they were going to use it as far as stormwater education based on
yeah.
payment of the green roof. The only other question, if you can check on this, Jane,
I'll add it
is
to it.
the stormwater fee that is going to be charged, which is a different fee, in my understanding of attending a CBU, for those particular areas, since, you know, the RDC still owns the dimension mill, to identify if we're going to have financial responsibility on that additional stormwater fee.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they've identified what that additional fee for those structures is that'll be added to all of the parcels.
Right, so you're talking about the rate for that, right,
Yeah,
that
'cause-
hasn't been finalized yet.
Okay, well, as we move this forward, not to try to hold up anything in the trades district, because we got momentum going there. If we could just identify if there will be additional fiscal responsibility that would be put to us, I'd like to just know what that is.
Right.
From our
And-
flat rate that they have now to the increased special
There
rate.
shouldn't be.
I know, there shouldn't. I just want to verify that if there's not, it's not an issue.
So in the early, at my understanding, I wasn't here at the time, but when the trades district was established, the idea that there would be the equivalent of an HOA that would address increased costs of the underground stormwater infrastructure, that's how the fees would be handled by the property owners. And since that time, and there's like staff level agreement, I don't think it has been to the utility service board yet, but that a better way to handle it instead of the HOA is for there to be a special rate for the trades district that would be charged on the utility service bills, so that CBU would then be able to service and maintain the infrastructure, because they feel more confident about their own ability to manage than to have the group of property owners hire a third party to do it.
That would be true.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the right thing to do.
Yes, but in terms of its legal status, I'm not sure where we are with that. So we'll bring this resolution back. I'll bring whatever formal update I can deliver about that part of the process at that time. Yeah.
And that way, Randy, that would be the utilities are billed to the users, so that our tenant, for instance, it would be part of their responsibility, not
Yeah, it
ours,
won't be
even
our
though we own the
responsibility.
building.
Okay.
The tenant will pay the rate.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that as we approve these tenants and people going in to these, that we don't have any, oh, by the way, there's a delta that we're going to be missing on our tenants.
Right.
They're aware, so,
Yeah.
okay, appreciate it.
Okay, I think I have all those questions listed for myself.
Okay, so we will also then be tabling Resolution 25-80H pending the map that was been requested. In addition to the green roof question of how that, just to make sure we all understand how that connects
Yeah.
to this transaction. Mr. Kerr, can we head back to 25-86 on the
Well, we got an
agenda?
exhibit to approve, or at least somebody needs to.
Oh, yeah,
And one more.
Exhibit C.
Oh, sorry, I
That's
had
okay.
that filed separately. It should have been. Okay, so, sorry, just getting my stuff in order. So what is the clarification on Exhibit C?
Well, Exhibit C was an exhibit to the lease with UC Berkeley Regents for the renter ESNet, which is in the Trades District garage. That lease has been started as of April 1st, 2025. And so in the original lease, this exhibit was blank. And so it's just now time to acknowledge that the lease term started on April 1st. And then that creates an end date of March 31, 2030. And so we would like for you to sign this tonight, acknowledging those dates. And that's it.
That's a common practice in leases, so I think it'd be fine.
Okay, and in terms of handling that for tonight's business, this is a matter of public record because it's on the agenda, we've just discussed it, but we do not need to make any other further adoption or anything.
No,
the
because
lease has
it's-
already been approved.
Mhm,
It's just
exactly.
so that Exhibit C is in the public record and we'll sign off on it tonight.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Okay, so we've covered all the primary items on the agenda, but we're heading back to 25-86, or excuse me, 25-86. If Mr. Kerr can read us the
He's just
amendment.
typing as fast as he can.
Yeah.
It is not that fast, I will tell you.
John, create a distraction.
I have a side question that we could move to other business and then get back to it, which is mostly just, in the minutes that we approved this evening, it included amongst others the executive session for June 30th, but there was also a noticed meeting on June 30th, but the minutes for that weren't in this packet. They'll be in the next packet.
It'll be the next packet.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
And we will be having the executive session on Friday at 9 a.m.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it is confirmed.
Yes.
Okay. Any other business while we the amendments for?
While we're just generally talking, Jessica, how we doing on money?
Okay.
Okay.
On money? Any particular account, Randy, or
No,
you
just in general, I just want to make sure, that you're feeling good about
It's
it.
a positive
Yeah.
cash flow.
Yeah, positive cash flow.
How are you doing on money? Would you hurry up, because I don't.
I'm ready whenever you are.
I don't want him asking any more questions.
I'm ready.
John, I
And
told you,
I'll,
create a diversion.
Yeah, sorry.
and I'll only refer to the ones that have changed. Whereas the Board of Public Works considered and approved an agreement.
You gotta tell me where you are and I'll have
Okay,
a clue what you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6, starting with the 6 are whereas.
Okay, hang on, I gotta find it. Let's see, we're at.
What's the previous whereas, and then what's to the one that you are reading?
The previous one was step 7 of the project.
Okay, thank you. And is this an addition or a revision to the next whereas?
It is a revision.
Okay.
Did you find it?
Yeah, you're talking about the seventh whereas?
The one that
Yeah,
names the
step
Board of Public
7
Works.
Oh, step 7, I see.
is the
Okay.
one after that. Okay, whereas the Board of Public Works considered and approved an agreement with Caramita Inc. to provide the services for an amount not to exceed $5,340 agreement, which is attached to this resolution as Exhibit A and will be paid by the Board of Public Works. Whereas additional testing, transportation, and disposal of lead contaminated soil are required. Whereas due to the cost of further services, additional funds are needed from the RDC to move forward, and whereas the contract amount of said further services is $31,775. Whereas the RDC shall take the place of the Board of Public Works to the additional services contract presented with this resolution originally and replace Exhibit B once approved by city legal and executed. And the city has brought the RDC and amended project, well, that's the same. And the other's the same. So what I've done in the now therefores is in number 2, it says the RDC conditionally approves the contract upon clarification of parties by city legal and will be attached here to as Exhibit B, and approves funding in an amount not to exceed $31,775, and that's in numerical after that, for the environmental remediation services. The RDC president is authorized to execute said contract, and everything else is the same.
Okay, does that seem to, any questions or comments from commissioners on these revisions for an amended resolution?
So what we're going to sign, or what Deb's going to sign off tonight, will read just as you
Yes.
said it, so you'll print it out.
Yes, I will send it to Christina, she'll print it out and get it signed by you guys.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments from commissioners, I'll open this for public comment because we haven't done that yet on this resolution 25-86 as amended. Seeing none online or in person, I will open this for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve 25-86 as amended and read by Dana Kerr, our legal counsel.
Second.
We got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for your help with the amendment
Thank you.
and for passing that. Okay, so we have technically gone to our additional business. Anything further before we have a motion to adjourn?
Just a quick question, since I wasn't listening very well, typing this. In the blanket easement, was there anything wanted besides a look at the plat of the area?
There was the question, just making sure we understood the green roof kind of connection. Because
Okay.
it's an exhibit in there and it was maybe just a
It's
little.
very confusing.
Yeah.
The green roof?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Try to tie it in somehow.
I have all the questions, Dana. We can talk in the morning
Okay.
about it if you want.
Yeah, I was just saying if it was just to look at the plat, you could look at it in the meeting and.
Well,
see
it ought to
what
be
was.
attached.
Okay.
And we made the comment that in the future, if you're trying to recognize an area that's already, it's mapped, we ought to be able to attach a map to the resolution. And not have to read a legal description, which most of us couldn't figure out where we were anyway.
And Ms. Cooper-Smith noted that this was not a time-sensitive resolution, so it seemed just as well to address the questions that we raised earlier in a future meeting.
Okay.
So, but thank you for that opportunity. Okay, if there's nothing further, I will take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all.
That's all right.
That is in the